Hey guys, it's Kenzie. Welcome back to my channel. So, first off, I'm sorry for not posting this yesterday. So many One moment, please. Sorry, this is the third time I've tried to film this. But I keep getting so nervous that I just keep, rambling on, literal nonsense. So, my mouth is a little dry. But anyway, so due to a bunch of technical difficulties, this is not the original video I was going to post. But I think those technical difficulties were God telling me that this is the video I need to post this week. So, we're going to do it. So, this video is going to be my testimony. Yeah, I just said that. And I'm actually going to do this. So, first off, hi, I'm Kenzie. I'm 18. I'll be 19 in April. And I am a class of 2022 high school graduate. I'm not going to college, but I do have an idea of what I want to do with my life, so that's helpful. So first off, I originally am from Colorado. I lived there for the first 8 years of my life, and my parents didn't really take my brother and I to church. Oh, by the way, you should probably know a little more background information on me. I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. I have two parents. A mom and a dad who love each other very much. I have an older brother. I have a cat. Yeah. And then I actually have a best friend who I call my little brother, who I will mention later on in this video. So, hold on. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so, like I said, I grew up in Colorado for the first 8 years of my life. Well, one day, my mom comes home and tells us, hey, my job's transferring me, here are our options, and Tennessee was one of them, so my family decided Tennessee. And by my family, I mean my parents and my brother, while I was upstairs in my room crying because I didn't want to have to leave the only life I ever knew, you know. And at the time I was very upset with the decision because I didn't want to leave, but it ended up being the best thing to ever happen. So, in case I didn't mention it, I'm 99% sure I didn't. I'm sorry, I am so, baffled over here. My parents tried to teach my brother and I about the Bible, but, we didn't go to church then, so, but anyway, so, moved to Tennessee, and one of my mom's coworkers invited us to her church. So we go, and they were doing an anniversary concert, and 8-year-old me was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is what church is like. I want to be in a I want to be here at this concert. This is awesome. Yeah, I want to come back. And then we didn't for a few weeks. And then when we did go back, it was an actual sermon, and I was like, oh, this is boring. Where's everything else? So we, we carry on life, and I tried going to school, an actual school, which I was in an actual school in Colorado, and then when we moved, the school did not have their stuff together at all. At all. They tried to put me in the wrong grade. I was supposed to be going into 3rd grade. They tried to put me in 4th, so they didn't have a class for me. Their pickup system was not the safest, and the first day was a half day, and then the next day we were out of school, and then the next day was a Friday, and we had a full day, so it was just kind of stupid. But yeah, it was just a pain. So we go to I'm sorry. So after first day of school, I'm telling my parents all about the day, and we all decided, okay, you're switching to homeschool. So I did for the rest of my school life. Yeah. So I wasn't really able to make friends except through church. So we keep going to church. I eventually do make friends, but they didn't or at least I felt like they didn't actually care about me just because of the way they treated me and stuff. So, life goes on, and as I'm sitting in Sunday school and I'm sitting in church service learning all about God and Jesus and all of that, I'm like, yeah, I want to get saved. I want to get baptized. I want to go to heaven. So I talked to my dad about it. I was like, yeah, I want to be saved. I want the pastor to, just, on Sunday morning, just go, psh. That's what I want. So talked to my dad about it. He talked to my youth pastor about it. And my youth pastor talked to me about it. So we were sitting there, we were talking, and he goes, do you feel like this is what God is calling you to do? And for some reason, without hesitation, I said, no. My parents are kind of confused, and he's like, okay, cool. So he prayed over me. Life went on. Well, and I was, oh my gosh. So when I was 12, my parents informed my brother and I that our great-grandfather, who, helped raise us and everything, was battling cancer for the last time. So, we're going through everything, and April comes. It's getting closer and closer to my 13th birthday, and I remember begging God. I was like, God, please, okay, sorry. I remember, praying and practically begging God, please, just let him stay for this last birthday. Just let him stay until I turn 13, and then you can take him after that. Well, I was able to spend my 13th birthday with him. And then 4 days later, on Easter Sunday, he passed away. And this is how I always knew God was real. Throughout the rest of my testimony, this is how I always knew God was real. Because I don't believe it was by coincidence that he was able to stay for one last birthday and then pass away the same day that we celebrate Jesus rising from the grave, But anyway, so, we mourn, we have the funeral and everything. Life continued on. And a year later, my parents were like, hey, so we found this house. It's 2.5, 3 hours away. We got approved for it and everything. It'll fit our entire family. It's better than the place we're living in now, because the place we were living in at the time, first off, it was in the bad part of Nashville. In case I didn't mention that, that's the part of Tennessee we moved to. It was in the bad part of Nashville, and so we have been trying to get out of that house since the day we moved in. But my parents were like, hey, we found this house. We're gonna move again. I was like, oh, okay. And I'm 14 at this point, and I'm like, no, like, I don't want another change, you know? Well, I couldn't really do anything about it, so we moved to the house we're in now. And we were having a lot of trouble finding a church that we wanted to go to, that we felt, you know, spiritually fed and everything. I tried a couple different churches and we just could not find one. So then eventually we picked like the closest one. No children my age, except for like 2. And then it was just, I don't know. Personally, I did not feel fed at all in there. It was a place for me to literally just sit and listen. I cannot remember a single one of the sermons I heard. So eventually I quit going. Week after week, excuse after excuse, I wasn't going. It's important to mention again, I was homeschooled, so it's not like I could make friends at school. So I was all alone down here. I didn't have any friends. Service sucked, so I couldn't just text my friends out random. It was not fun at all. I'm trying to breathe. So that's when I forgot to mention this part. I am so sorry. I'm all over the place. I'm not good at telling my testimony in front of people I'm not comfortable with, even if I am just alone. I started struggling. So I've struggled with anxiety my whole life. After my grandpa passed away, started struggling with depression a lot. Anyway, so at this point in my life, when I was, you know, not having any friends, I had nothing to do except for literally just stay home, my depression started to get really bad. My mental health literally just went like it just went down. Well, eventually my old church from Nashville was like, hey, we're going to World Changers, which is a mission trip organization. It's going to be out near where you guys are. Would Kenzie maybe want to come? Well, they texted my dad that. And so he asked, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. And it felt like literally no one there actually cared if I was there, which did not help with the whole, you know, stressy, depressy, wanna unalive myselfy. But sorry, I have really dark humor, and sometimes the way I best cope with things is to make jokes out of very serious situations. I'm sorry, I will get help. But I went, and there was this girl there, and I'm so thankful for her. This was the first time I had ever met her, was this week. And she was the only person there who actually made me feel like I was cared about. And we were talking one night, and she was like, man, you're so amazing. Like, you're so awesome. You're so bubbly. You're so kind. Like, just saying all these really nice things to me. And she was like, look, I'm never gonna, like, force you to tell me anything. Like, I will never force you to talk to me. Like, you know, just, like, if you ever are, like, thinking about suicide, like, please tell me, because, like, I never want you to do that. Like, the world would not be okay without you. And okay, I was doing good for a second there. Oh my gosh. Whew. at that time, I told her, no, I'm good. Like, mental health, she's fine. She was not fine. I did not tell her that I had thought about it. But end of the week comes, I go back home. I don't really feel any different. Am I having a panic attack? What is happening right now? Like, I'm shaking, but I don't actually feel like I'm having it. Hold on. Okay, cool. I think I'm good. So, anyway, end of the week comes, and I don't feel any different. Life keeps going on, I'm stressy, depressy, want to unalive myselfy. Anytime I went to go check the mail, I would really hope that a car would swerve out of control and hit me. Obviously that hasn't happened. Thank God for that. But yeah, mental health was not doing good. I felt super unloved by my family, by the world. Felt like God didn't really care about me. And I just completely was like, no, I'm gonna do life my own way. Like, get out of here. Like, I don't want God near this. Like, we're not doing that. So in October of 2019, I started talking to a guy on Instagram, and it was in no way, shape, or form a very godly relationship, if you know what I mean. I don't want to say it, on the internet at least. But, and I will admit, I was kind of toxic to him. Like, if he didn't text me back within 5 minutes, I would be like, oh my gosh, he doesn't like me, he's mad at me, whatever. So yeah, I was kind of toxic. But for about 5 months, I talked to this guy, and I thought I fell in love with him. I just had a very strong lust for him. There is a difference between lust and love. And I actually saw this thing on TikTok the other day that said, God is love, so if that relationship didn't work out, know that it wasn't real love. And I'm like, oh, okay. That is a good point. But I talked to this guy for 5 months, and I was allowed to start dating when I turned 16, and I wanted him to be my first boyfriend. Well, a month before I turned 16, I decided things aren't working out. He keeps breaking my heart and betraying my trust. That's not actually what happened. But 15-year-old toxic, super mentally unstable me was convinced that's how it was working. But anyway, and like, I didn't tell him anything about my mental health. So that might actually partly be why things didn't work out. But anyway, so I decided to end things with him. Now, at this time, my parents had started going to a new church. I went 2 weeks in a row. That was it. In March of 2020. So, when COVID happened, they were following guidelines, 6 feet apart, masks. If you're not comfortable with going, don't go, situation. So we went, and I was like, okay, cool. Got out of the house, saw people. I'm good. I want to go back home now. This happened both weeks. And then I quit going again for weeks. Week after week, excuse after excuse. I can't go for this reason, that reason, whatever. And I eventually did get back into reading my Bible and, trying to get closer with God and everything. And at this point, I, for real, just felt so unloved. I felt like, after what happened with that guy, God couldn't love me anymore. Like, I had messed up. Like, I had always heard, oh, you're never too far gone. But I was like, no, like, God can't love me after this. Like, yeah, I'm still going to try, but, like, can God actually love me? And then that is when I came across this verse. So this is in the King James Version. But it's Romans 8:38-39, which says, "For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus our Lord." And that very quickly became my favorite verse. That very quickly became, like, my testimony verse, pretty much. Like, this is the verse when someone tells me that they think God can't love them anymore. I'm like, but Romans 8:38-39 says, I don't know if I'm immediately like that, but it's definitely a verse to always remember. I eventually want to get, like, a tattoo that literally just says Romans 8:38-39. And what's funny is the first time I started filming this, I had grabbed my Bible and flipped to that verse, completely forgetting that I have this little thing where I have the verse painted on. Don't look at my horrible handwriting. I was writing over paint with Sharpie, okay? But anyway, so that verse very quickly stuck out to me and became a favorite verse of mine. Well, eventually, I was thinking, I really need guy friends. Yep. I was like, I really need guy friends to, be like my non-blood brothers. Like, I just really need that bond, that, like, friendship bond with guys to where, I have males, like, friends being able to protect me instead of always having to go to my big brother or my dad for something. And then a couple weeks later, my dad, it was on May 9th, 2020. My dad was like, all right, who's going with us to church tomorrow? And I was like, you know what? It's Mother's Day tomorrow. Let's go be with Mom. And it was, again, one of those things where I was just instantly like, yeah, let's go. Well, we go, and these 3 random boys are there. Never saw them before in my life, and I was like, oh, okay, random dudes. And we got there in time for Sunday school, so I went and experienced Sunday school at that church for the first time. And we go into Sunday school, and I'm terrified because, like, the social anxiety, still horrible. There's 3 random dudes right there. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want them to think I'm annoying and weird. Now, I don't give a crap. But anyway, so I don't want to talk to them. Yeah, well, my pastor, thanks Dusty, made me talk to people, which I think was so mean. I'm kidding. But anyway, so we do the lesson and everything. 2 of the boys walk back inside, and another one, it's a random long-haired boy, started following me around like a lost puppy. Rude. So thanks, G, for that. I'm not sure if he wants his name in here, so I'm not gonna say his name. but he, I don't know, just, this is the part where I usually start crying. Okay, let's just get the crying over with. I'm scared. So just like something about his energy and like the way he was talking to me, I felt like I was cared about. I actually felt like love. I felt love. And I truly believe that, because like it was honestly, like the depression was still getting really bad. I was still kind of contemplating the whole, suicide thing. And it was just still so bad for me. And G really made me feel cared about. And I truly believe God put him in my life to save me. So. Oh. So after that day, I started going to that church a little bit more. And it eventually sort of became like my home church. And that church puts on a summer camp. They started doing 4 days, but the first year I went, it was 3 days. And we go, and it is a camp where you can feel the Holy Spirit. Like, you can feel God is in there. You can feel God is working on you. Like if you're in the position where God is working on you. Anyway, so I go that first year, and I've been to other church camps before. Nothing compares to this one, in my opinion. So I go, and that first night, I'm sitting there just chilling and everything, and I'm kind of like feeling God, but also kind of still pushing him away. And then the next night, I'm standing there, I'm listening to the music, I'm singing along with the words, and I really felt God call me up to the altar. And I'm not kidding you. I straight up sat there. And in my head, I went, no, God, I am not going up to that altar. Like, what? I know 3 people here, and it's all dudes. Like, it's all those same 3 boys I mentioned before. I don't know them. What if they judge me? I'm not going up there. No, thank you. No, sir. Like, I straight up sat there and fought with God over whether or not I was going up to the altar. So, end of night comes. Next morning, for Sunday's service, I go up to my parents and I was like, hi, how you doing? This camp was awesome. I want to come back next year. They were like, okay, cool. We can make that happen. I have an eyelash in my eye. Ow. Ow, 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 ow. Sorry. Anyway. And they were like, yeah, sure. We can make that happen. The next year comes. And I really started getting back into my Bible and my devotionals then. And so, first off, leading up, Wednesday night, I go to my church for service, and there wasn't a lot of us in there, so it was like my parents, my brother, and like a couple of other rewind. Okay. Alright, we're going to full rewind because I just skipped a whole section. So beginning of July comes. My grandpa, who lived with us unexpectedly passed away. And when I say unexpectedly, I mean unexpectedly. Like, the night before he passed, he was doing great. He seemed very happy. He seemed very healthy. He had hip replacement surgeries coming up that he was very excited for. He was excited to be able to walk again. He was doing great. Next day, parents tell my brother and I, hey, Grandpa unexpectedly passed away. We were all sad about it at the time, obviously. Okay, I think I'm good now. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. Anyway. So, after, everything, some family members came out to, come to the funeral and everything. And my brother and I, the night before the funeral, my brother and I, we were sitting at the kitchen table and we were talking. And we were just having this really deep, loving sibling moment rather than a fighting all the time sibling moment. And we were talking, and he struggles with mental health as well. It's, for those who may not know, mental health is a gene. So if people in your family have anxiety and depression, there's a good chance you're going to have anxiety and depression. Addiction is a mental disease. So, yeah, just a little tidbit, I guess. Anyway, so I'm sitting there talking to him, and we were talking about my uncle, who also struggles with mental health, and my brother looks at me and goes, Kenzie, to the best of my knowledge, you haven't struggled with depression and suicidal thoughts like we have. And I look at him and I went, actually, here's what happened. Here's this whole story. And we just sat, cried, and talked to each other. And then I explained the whole situation with G. And G and I were pretty good friends at this point. We talked almost every day. We were talking about my cat, and my cat's name is Oreo, and he was like, man, I want Oreos. And I was like, man, so do I. And so I stopped in where his mom was working, and I was like, hey, so the other night we were talking and I mentioned my cat, and it because of my cat's name, we both decided we wanted Oreos. So here, I got him some Oreos. So he very much enjoyed the Oreos. But so after my brother and I talked and I explained the whole situation, I was like, do you think I should tell him? And he was like, maybe, but do it in person, just because that's the least awkward way. Well, me being me, I did not do it in person, but anyway. So about a week later, okay, hold on. The day of the funeral, I knew his parents were going to come to be there for my family and everything. I was not expecting him to be there. And I was doing perfectly fine. I was just, standing outside, greeting people, waiting for all of this to be over. And all of a sudden, I see him, and I break down crying. I was like, no, I was doing so good until just now. Just because of the conversation with my brother the night before. So then, about a week or two later, him and I are talking, and I was like, hey, so here's the situation. No, I was scrolling on TikTok that night, and he was really bad at responding to me fairly soon. It would take, even now, it would take hours to respond, which, whatever. He's living life. He's busy. It would take hours to respond. And so I see this TikTok, and it's And I was thinking, like, oh, what am I going to talk to Garrett about all this and everything? I was like, okay, do I need a sign? Like, what's going on? So I'm scrolling through TikTok and I see this video that says, who is your purple? Your purple is someone who came into your life and made it better just by being there. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a sign. So I save it, scroll through TikTok a little more. I see a really funny one. I send it to him and I'm like, okay, next time I talk to him, I'm going to talk to him about this thing. Well, for once, he actually responds within a decent amount of time. So I was like, oh, gosh. So we kind of joke around about that TikTok a little bit. And then was like, hey, can I talk to you about something? And he was like, yeah, sure, what's up? So I explained the whole situation and... oh, gosh. Oh, no. This is the part where I normally start crying. And he said this whole long paragraph about how, like, he's really happy that we're friends and, like, I came into his life and he's, like, super grateful for me and that he's happy I didn't jump in front of a car. And he was like, you're like a sister to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're like a brother to me. And that made me really happy because, like I mentioned earlier, I was really needing some, like, male friends who could be, you know, like, that brother and sister bond, you know? So, but anyway, now to the part I tried to say earlier, but then was like, whoa, I gotta rewind. So life keeps going on, and I'm starting to try and get a little closer with God. And on a Wednesday night service, we were all sitting, and we finished the service, and my dad called on my older brother to close this out in prayer, and I was like, actually, I want to do it. And my dad was like, what? Okay, if you want to do that. So close out the prayer and everything. And then the next night, I went to a girls' Bible study group with one of my best friends. And again, I was still really working on the whole social anxiety thing at the time. So I don't remember what it was one of the girls had said, but she said something that made me respond. And my friend looks at me and she's looking at me like, where did that come from? You spoke in front of people to a person. Are you okay? And I just, like, really tried to make conversation with everyone, and they really are such a great group of girls. I really enjoy this Bible study group. Anyway, so that was on a Thursday, and earlier that morning, I had gotten back into a devotional that I had been doing for a while. It was the Sadie Robertson Live Original devotional, which I have been doing for years on and off, so, but I remember ending the devotional, and, was this Friday morning? No, this was Thursday night, or Thursday day, whatever, because Friday was the first day of camp, yeah, and I remember being like, okay, God, I don't know what you're going to do this weekend, but whatever you're going to do, you're going to do it, and I'm not going to say no like last year. So, we go. First day, we're chilling, we're doing everything. Worship time comes, and I'm sitting there with my friend. Well, my two friends. And, like, my chest starts, getting that beating in your heart where you're like, okay, you gotta do something. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, oh my gosh, like, do I need to go up to the altar? Like, I don't know if I actually want to do this. Like, this is really awkward. I'm not sure how I feel about this. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I told God I was going to do it. So I will go to the altar. And I remember being like, okay, God, I'll go to the altar. I don't know if I'm going to cry. I don't know what I'm going to pray about yet, but I'll go up to the altar. And I go up to the altar, and as soon as I kneel down, I burst out crying, and I got saved in that moment. And little side story that goes along with this. My friend, we'll call her Lee. We'll call her Lee, I guess. What I didn't know was in the moment that I was determining, do I want to go up there or not, she was having her own little battle. For each reason she gave to not go up to the altar of, oh, she's scared, God would speak through my pastor and be like, what, are you scared? Okay, well, I'm tired. What, are you tired? Like, what is your reasoning for not coming up to the altar? Like, that's what would happen. She's like, okay, fine, if you want me to go up there, send me a sign. And in that moment, I walked up, and she was like, all right, God, I read you loud and clear. So she rededicated that weekend while I got saved. So it was a very happy weekend for us. And what's funny is that a couple days beforehand, I was like, hey, Dad, so, like, if I end up deciding to get baptized this weekend, if Dusty lets you want to do it? And he was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. So then I go out into the hallway and I'm crying and I'm just taking a moment to myself, and my dad comes out and he was like, are you good? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. By the way, that hypothetical from the other night, yeah, it's not hypothetical anymore. And he was like, all right, cool. So end of night comes, and my pastor's like, all right, does anybody else want to come up? Does anybody want to get saved, get baptized, whatever? And it's so funny, my friend Lee looks at me and she goes, I don't think there's anyone else who wants to go up there, not knowing. And I was like, actually, there's one more. So I go up there. I look at him. I look at my poor pastor and I practically scream in his face, I want to be baptized on Sunday and I want my dad to do it. Can we make that work? And he was like, yeah, sure. Give me a hug. And I'm like, all right, cool. Thanks, Rose. So I'm sorry, it's like 3 a.m. at this point. I'm just laughing about the fact that I yelled in my poor pastor's face. Oh man. But yeah, it was a really awesome experience, a really awesome weekend. Minus the part where, when my dad baptized me, he kind of dropped me. He went, all right, here you go, into the water. All right, cool. And now your sins have been washed away. Oh, wait. You're fine. I'm kidding. That's not actually what happened. In all actuality, I slipped, but I like to joke and say that he dropped me. Yeah, that was just a really amazing weekend. And, yeah, that's my testimony. That is how everything happened. And I'm, I'm not perfect. I still struggle with, so many things, with lust, with comparison, with, feeling if I'm actually loved or not, my mental health. And when you start following God, it doesn't mean everything's gonna be like rainbows and sunshine. It just means that you have someone there with you no matter what, when you are going through the rough patches. And okay, you can't see it right now because I have it covered. Don't talk about my very messed up bandaging job. I ran out of my actual bandage, so I had to put band-aids on the ends to fully cover it. But in case you haven't seen it already a little bit in this video, I am wearing pajama pants. I got a tattoo the other day, and that was what this week's video was originally supposed to be, but I forgot to film because I was so excited. And I'll see if I can figure out some way to put a video in. If not, I'll probably post on my TikTok showing it and giving an actual video photo in there. But anyway, since you can't see it, it's a double infinity. And before anyone calls me a basic white girl, listen to my meaning behind it. So I've been watching the show on Hulu called Revenge. It's a really good show. I really like it. And she has a double infinity tattoo because her dad, like growing up, like you'll see backstory or backflashes of her life. Her dad growing up would be like, oh, do you know how much I love you? And she'd be like, yeah, infinity. And he'd be like, no, infinity times infinity, which is super long. Like, infinity times infinity, like, that's a really, really long time. You know? Like, talk about to infinity and beyond. Like, what about to double infinity and beyond? Sorry, I'm, like, starting to lose my mind right now. I'm that tired, but, and I looked up the meaning behind the symbol. And, you know, obviously a regular infinity sign means something is infinite. And a double infinity sign, so it either means purity or perfection. One of the two. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, so I'm making sure I have this, you know, as correct as possible. Double infinity symbolizes the idea of combining two everlasting infinities to create equal everlasting perfection. And I just really liked the idea of this. God is infinite and pure, so there's that. And also, he loves us like infinity times infinity. So that is why I chose a double infinity. But yeah, that's a testimony. I, you know, feel really good now for doing this. So I might have had a slight panic attack, but it's not as bad as the one I had at winter camp when I told my testimony then. So, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you have a good day, night, evening, whatever time of day you are watching this. Jesus loves you. So do I. And bye.